Welcome back, folks. Like I said to you before we went to the break, of course, we were going to be chatting about Western Cape sailing. Well, of course, you know that Western Cape, or at least Sailing South Africa, is one of the codes that is part of the SASCOC structure, the national structure, one of the official sports structures, and of course, competes internationally at several events. And of course, our Western Cape sailors are always dominating. To tell me more about sailing in the Western Cape and sailing in South Africa, we've got Micheal Kavanagh in studio with us. Micheal, welcome to Sport Federation TV.
Thank you.
Well, I'm just having a look here. I mean, one of the things that you did bring for us, which is kind of unique, is we can see it on the wide shot here, is a boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a little bit smaller than...
A little bit smaller,
it's a little bit... when we said we were going to talk about sailing in the Western Cape, I thought, okay, well, we're going to talk about, you know, you guys on the ocean, and then you brought the boat. What have we got here?
So this is a little boat called a DF95.
Right.
It's a radio control boat.
Yeah.
And it's actually one of the fastest growing classes in South Africa at the moment. There's just under 200 boats in the country.
So just for the sake of the viewer, though, I mean, maybe people probably got a bit confused here. We are still talking about sailing. We're still talking about Western Cape sailing.
Absolutely.
We're not talking about only this. I mean, you're still representing Sailing Western Cape.
For sure.
And the main big boats and yachts and all that.
So this is not a toy. These, when the guys race these boats,
Yeah.
it is full on.
Is it battle?
It's battle. And
Right.
the sailors walk up and down the shore.
Yeah.
But the sailing, the actual technical part of sailing is exactly the same as sailing a 50 or 60 foot boat.
Right, right.
You can adjust the controls on these boats to change the shape of the sails.
Yes.
And you need to pick the wind shifts right. You need to be on the start line on time.
Well, I'm going to just reach down here, and we don't normally have these kind of toys in studio. So this is obviously a remote control, folks.
That's it.
You can see here. I'm assuming that this is the kind of thing that you see people. Yeah. So I obviously control the boat with this.
Yes.
When I'm doing this, I mean, when you're speaking to somebody like me, I'm thinking left and right, backward and forward.
Yeah.
Like a car.
Yeah.
But you guys with boats, ships and...
Well, the names are slightly different,
Are they?
but the concept is the same.
Yeah.
So you've got a rudder at the back of the boat there.
Right.
And if you turn, let me turn.
No, I think you got to stay there
Okay.
because you're camera. We don't have to do
I was
this.
just going to say, so you can, with the remote controller, there's only two things that you control in these boats. And
Yeah.
the one is the rudder, which
Yeah.
steers the boat left and right.
Right.
And then the sails. And the sails, really, you have to adjust them to the wind.
So for the guys that are doing this, I mean, you guys are normally on a boat. You're pulling ropes, you're raising sails, putting out the jibs and the spinners, those kind of things. But this is all about hand-eye coordination.
It's definitely hand-eye coordination,
Yeah.
but the sailing part of it is exactly
The
the
logic.
same.
Yeah.
You've got to position the boat correctly relative to the wind. You do your fine-tuning of the sails
Right.
on the shore with these, as I say, these little bowsies.
Yeah.
You can change the tension on pretty much any part of the sail,
Okay.
and thereby change the shape of the sail, and that will then affect the way that the boat sails in the water.
Okay. So
And
we've got model boats here basically, and we're definitely going to have to keep talking about this. But I just want to bring us back. Western Cape sailing.
Yes.
Sailing is obviously the big sport in South Africa. You guys compete internationally. Western Cape has always been known for delivering some really fantastic athletes to compete overseas.
We do indeed. Western Cape sailing is very strong in a South African context.
Yeah.
We've got fantastic water and fantastic wind, and we've also got many of the sailors from around the country, talented sailors,
Yeah.
as they go into university and into their teens, they end up gravitating to the Western Cape.
So what are the different classes? You guys always talk about classes and so on. We've in fact spoken about dinghies on the show before.
Yes.
We've spoken about, but tell us a little bit more about Hobies and so on. What are the different classes that you guys have in sailing?
So there are many different classes, and it ranges from dinghies, the smallest of the dinghies being the Optimist class, in which the kids as young as 4 or 5 start sailing in it, up to about the age of 15. and then you graduate into bigger dinghies such as the single-handed laser and the double-handed 29er. You've got things like the Dabchick, which is a traditional South African only class. It's only found in South Africa.
What's the highest level? I mean, we're talking about Olympics and world champs and so on. What's the kind of the, I mean, if we think about athletics, they always talk about the 100 meters as the big thing.
So the Olympic classes, of course, get the limelight, and in those classes you would be looking at the 49er, which is a bigger version of the 29er. 29er is a youth pathway boat into the 49er.
Yeah.
We had a team in the Tokyo Olympics in the 49er.
Yes.
Benji Daniels and Alex Berger were there.
Yeah.
And then you've got the laser.
It's only 2 guys on the boat?
2 guys. 2
on the boat, yeah.
You've got the laser is another class. So within the Olympics, there's I think there's 5 or 6 classes.
Yeah.
Increasingly, they're bringing in windsurfing, and also, and the windsurfing is now a foiling windsurfer, which is another story where the whole boat lifts out of the water.
Yes, we've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
so is windsurfing part of sailing South Africa?
It is.
Right.
Yeah, it is. And then there's also kiteboarding as well.
Also part of sailing South Africa.
So those 2 disciplines are 2 disciplines where, from a South African sailing point of view, we really would like to get closer to them.
Yeah.
To some extent, they do their own thing, and they're not.
Well, I think any day that you go down Bloberg Strand on a windy day, which is probably most days of the week, it's kite surfers and windsurfers out having a blast.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then in September, I believe you've got another South African championships.
Yeah,
locally?
so then we have the 505, the 29er, and the 420.
Codes, 20s and 30s, and okay.
It can be very confusing. It certainly can be very confusing. But at the end of the day, they're all sailing boats similar to this one, just bigger or smaller.
Yeah. So you got nationals in September. You call
yeah,
it
we've got nationals in September out at Club Mykonos.
Yeah.
And then we build up to youth nationals, which this year is taking place at Midmar Dam in December.
Right, right.
And there we will have classes like the Optimist. We'll have the Dabchick. Again, the lasers will be there. 29ers should be there. 420 should be there.
And when you guys compete in those events, do you have to put your boat on a trailer and go, or do you rent one there?
If you're lucky, you can charter or rent a boat. But generally, we drive all over the country.
You drive, you put it on the back. And
I've done about 30,000 kilometers in the last 6 months.
Wow, so you guys have got quite a lot of maintenance, and before you even get in the water, you must have a lot of work to do on the boat itself.
Yeah, so we talk about a performance pyramid, and the base layer of the pyramid is boat preparation.
Yeah, yeah.
And if your boat preparation is not up to scratch, then you're wasting your time going to an event.
And if I want to start sailing, Mark, I can join a club somewhere?
Absolutely. There's clubs at pretty much any piece of water. A good place to start will be Milnerton Aquatic Club in the northern part, or up the west coast, and then in the southern suburbs, Sikufle is another good place to start.
That's where I get my feet wet.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
So when you're talking about Sikufle or those clubs, are those indoor, flat water, still water clubs?
Yeah, what we'd call inland water.
Yeah, inland water.
So the inland water is generally a bit more protected. If something goes wrong, you can't get washed away. So it's a relatively safe environment to start to learn.
So do the athletes then migrate from inland water to ocean water? I mean,
they do. So there's a whole another set of skills learning to sail on the ocean and navigate the waves.
So, and what do I need? What do I need if I come to a sailing club? We were just speaking to Nikki America from Baseball Fives, and she said basically for Baseball 5 you don't need anything, because all you need is a soft ball. You can just arrive and play anywhere. With sailing, I mean, when you're playing, let's say for example we're going to be chatting to the guys from archery soon, I need to get a bow and arrow.
Yes.
What do I need for sailing? Do I need to pitch up in my own boat?
The clubs and the sailing centres do have boats where you'll get an opportunity to try out. They do have a limited stock of wetsuits and life jackets and things. Yeah. So you can literally pitch up with your swimming costume, basically.
So I don't have to go out and buy a yacht.
You don't have to go out and buy
a yacht before starting.
So you try it out, and if the bug bites, then eventually you will buy your own boat.
Michael, next step for you guys, South African Championships then coming up next week.
So we've got a team of sailors going over to the Youth Worlds, which is taking place in Buzios in Brazil.
Right.
That's not too far from Rio, and that happens in December. So we've got a young team. It'll be their first time at the Youth Worlds, and they're training hard. If you go down to Granger Bay, you'll see them sailing there most weekends. In fact, we'll be out there this afternoon and again tomorrow.
Okay, and then back to the, what do I call it?
Radio boats.
Radio boats.
Yeah.
Radio boats, radio control. If I wanted to do just radio boats, can I still join
Absolutely.
the club? And
yeah,
then,
for sure.
Okay.
So the radio class is very active, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, this looks like great fun.
And if you reach out to one of the clubs, they can put you in contact with the relevant person, and they'll be only too happy to get you behind a boat and demonstrate how it works and give you a taste.
Well, I must say this looks very it looks very appealing. It looks fantastic. It has beautiful colors on it, and clearly it's got some sort of excitement about it. Michael, we'll leave it at that. We say, listen, we're looking forward to get you guys back in studio. Western Cape Sailing, obviously flying the flag for the province. It's exciting. There's clearly entry-level stuff to get involved, whether it be radio sailing or the smaller boats on the inland still water.
Maybe one other thing I can highlight, JP, is this weekend it's Ladies' Day. It's Ladies' Month.
Yes.
And there's a big event happening at Royal Cape Yacht Club on the keel boats.
Okay.
And there'll be boats out in the bay on Saturday, and they'll all be filled with ladies. And many ladies who've never sailed before will get their first taste of sailing.
That's fantastic. Glad to see you guys doing so much to make sure the sport is contributing. We leave it at that, and we'll say we look forward to seeing you next time.
Super, thank you.
There we go, folks. Micheal Kavanagh, Western Cape Sailing, and wow, well, it's certainly looking like yet another sport code flying the flag proudly for the province. As you can see, I'm of course wearing the provincial gear today. Everything is blue. We'll see you again next week, same time, same place. Have a fantastic sporting weekend. Bye-bye.